Yeah, I used to work for UHS, American Credit Union, and there was always 3 weeks.
We're getting
Be there at like 7 in the Oh no, it's as good as it's gonna get. So look, that's the entry.
I've always asked what he's done before he gets out of my office.
He's kicking me out. That's what I see one time.
We're going to talk about the podcast.
Oh, okay. We gotta get you on something.
I know that.
All right, we do have a podcast this week.
Yeah, now, what was that? I have no idea. Where was that? I didn't look at it.
So we do it live on the biggest Facebook page and we use YouTube. Also, we take the audio from that and distribute that as a podcast. So we're going to listen to podcasts. iTunes, Google Play,
I'll show you some, just to show you what it looks like. Beginning stuff.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. So we're
Blocking beverages. That was on this case, actually. Started working
I created a English speaking program that is now working on essentially how to French, Spanish, I've done shooting shots in the store. And I was sick and tired. I've been working very closely with that since I started in my oh yeah. Yeah. And then my brochures are going to be ready next week, and the website's going to be ready the week
Tell Austin. Austin, you're taking us.
Yeah.
out so we're all sitting at the tables, and then afterwards we can begin. So go ahead and start serving yourselves.
No, but if you've ever been to Filipino parties, love you. That's why
How you doing? Daniel, cannot say no to tacos, huh? Can't say no to tacos, huh?
The thing you know is coming.
Yep, we did this for you, my
I
friend.
put on, there's no tacos, no Garza.
How are you guys doing? How are you and Christian doing?
It's good.
Yeah?
I'm on my way up there today. And he's doing okay.
Yeah. As good as you can.
The memorial was Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah. Nice.
The mass on Thursday. He's okay. Every once in a while kicks in that will just magic. But I will listen to.
Did you have a chance to view it yet or not yet?
I'll send you some info.
Okay.
We sat down and looked at it.
Okay. Couple notes.
And nothing, just me being picky.
Sure. No, we got to pitch it. So. Oh, good.
I want to connect because
And our job is done.
It's a part of it. So, but we're ready for two.
Good.
Let's see what I think it's a 90.
I love it. Let's do it, man. Make it happen.
yeah, we get it. Yeah, we had
We've done one
one.
Yeah.
In the last like 9 months, but it was my patient. And
So what we do with our live streams too is a distribution.
That was 9 months ago.
We shared a bunch of groups, so why not?
Yeah, I mean, it does happen.
There's a ton of like people related to Facebook groups, like large communities. So what you can do is you can share your content, including live streams, into these targeted groups for large reach.
Awesome. I was watching, when I was up there before, I was watching.
What was your name, by the way?
I'm Tom.
Tom. Austin.
Austin, hi, Austin.
Who are you with?
So glad
Who are you with? Yourself. Me, myself, and I.
Like it's a whole group of us.
I hope you have a good time.
I will. Yeah, I see you guys, and I'm like, yeah, have a good time every place. I like,
Good.
so,
You have a good
have
mentality.
3 times a have a group like that.
You keep showing interest, we might put you to work though, I don't know.
Well, I think those things are awesome.
We have a lot of fun with it.
Well, the guy that invented it, or the guys that are Dales or whoever, I like that mentality.
Yeah, a lot of creative freedom with it.
Yeah. Problem solving.
Absolutely.
And then he said, well, if you want to do this in the future, we can discuss it. They wanted me to sign this agreement that basically all the things I've It's good to meet you, Jim.
Johnny set this whole thing up.
Okay, hold on a minute. How are you? I know, right?
How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Stop pretty good. How's your brother?
He got the surgery.
Okay.
It's been 2 weeks.
And so he's good?
Yeah, he's good, you know, I mean.
My daddy right there. You're on the
That's what it's rolling.
Yeah, right, you're all rosy. Here's my cash.
That's
That's
Johnny.
Not that I've seen.
No coffee? Shut it down. No coffee? No coffee, Johnny?
Inspection. We spent a couple of days down there, and then we went up to New Jersey.
Rescue.
Dude.
What?
What's up, man?
What's up, man?
How's it going?
What's going on, man? You're still at beginnings, right?
Yeah.
Full time?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome, man. Are you helping with drinks or are you just hanging out back there?
I'm just hanging out with these.
Okay, I can go over there.
Good, how are you?
Let's give it a shot. I'm not good at it. Then it gets exhausting.
You gotta hire a technical writer.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Yeah, for you, Mark. How you doing? I'm good. Long time no see. Where you at?
I started my own thing.
Oh, did you? It's right out. It's right out through that door. It's right out there. Or see, you can see them right there. But if you go out and around,
You need to put drinks up here in the barrel. This is tasty.
what's up, Marcel?
That's okay. Yeah, and I'm kind of, I'm also doing just for Newport, everybody, all levels of care. Does anybody know where the drinks are?
Those are yours. You got 4 of them. Got a lot of bring it all by.
What? Johnny's. Oh, they're on the table. They're personalized sets. Go wrong with soccer. Johnny, everything is delicious. Just call. Everything is delicious. I'm doing an email campaign to all of our individual lists about the live stream event. So bring people in.
Bring them up here.
Just chuck them at the wall.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to do. I thought it was better to ask.
Where's your player? You got your plate?
I'll bring it up. We can get started.
Oh, yeah.
Water, French, cooking, structure. What we help with?
Johnny, where do you want 30 dishes?
You just put it right there. Thank you. Outside. Right Mr. Terry, the guy with above that. Above that. Yeah, that's about it.
At least we get to eat, right?
Yeah.
We're live streaming the event, but yeah, we will too, if that's okay with you.
With the live streaming event, but only film me when I get off of my story and start talking. You'll know when.
Okay.
You'll know when.
Yeah.
And any purposes, and I covet this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want that.
What?
I want that.
The film?
I covet that.
Oh, those
Here, man.
You got it. Just take it. I'll look the other way.
Just look that way.
Yeah, what?
I will click that. So quick.
Hey, anytime we want to collab and do some videos together, we can.
Look at that, man. It's just.
And that's awesome.
I know. It just shows the difference.
Yeah.
Look at that. I mean, it's that is too cool for school right there.
Good.
What's your name? Oh, Alyssa. I don't know if I've met you before. You look familiar. I sell a plant like a bunch of plants. Beginner treatments.
There you go. It works a lot better when it's on.
Walk Medical? It's probably heard of me, but yeah.
You'll feel it there.
Yeah, I know. I was
Alyssa, yeah.
There you
Close
go.
enough. Yeah, oh, Healy Path. Oh, where is this? Is this open?
Yeah.
Ice is
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
here, I'll give you
refrigerator
my
for
card.
next time.
Yeah, beginnings treatment, they've been a plant for a while. Basically what I do, I'm not a lab, like, if something's red, and I just what I do. Yeah.
There you go.
I know, I've been eating
Can I get everyone's attention, Thank everybody for coming out today. My name is Ed. I just want to let we're here today because the Southwest Counseling 20th anniversary. Southwest Counseling is started in Costa Mesa. It's still there. It's a nonprofit home with 15 residential beds that has been in operation for 50 years. Jack Motley knew he wanted to be here today. He was actually going to be here. He couldn't come. He's the man who ran Southwest Counseling for pretty much the whole time that it's been open, as far as I know. And Beginnings Treatment came into the picture about 4.5 years ago, and Beginnings is now utilizing Southwest Counseling. They're actually working together. Southwest still houses the residents that come through Beginnings through the detox. Beginnings handles the administrative part, the clinical part, and so they've joined together. So that's why we're all here today. We're celebrating the 50th anniversary. Jack Motley wanted to give a shout out to Adrian Stratton. I guess they go way. And so with that said, I'm the director of business development. Cindy over there, I still call her Dimach. She is the director of outreach. And we brought a lot of different people in the community together today because we wanted to celebrate together. People from all different parts of the industry. And I'd love to be able to work with anybody, anybody that's in the industry. I'm here for you. I think I know a lot of people here, and the ones that I don't know, I want to get to know you. We want to get to know you. We want to be able to work with you and develop business and work together and do good, ethical business. So with that said, I want to introduce our special host, Pearl Hightower.
Hi, everybody. Pearl Hightower. I guess that's how this setting I'll introduce myself. Not for long, though. I can't stay there for very long. Worked in the fields for 35 years now. And been working with Beginnings place for quite a while now. It's been an honor and privilege to watch the growth transition. It's an excellent organization. You guys should get to know some of the key players here. Where's our director? Where's our clinical director? Stand up. Stand up. There he is. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And then we have the administrative team. They're floating about. You'll be able to find them there in the room. Who in here? Hands go. You guys will find them. There's two of them right over there. Two. They have a tendency to cluster. Right. Three. So, all right. A little bit about me. That was the professional me. Now I'm Roland. I'm an alcoholic. Hey everybody. All right. Let's roll up our sleeves and tell the truth. Right. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this is going to go. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, kind of qualify, and then I'm going to talk about being in the industry and what's going on, and really what this is, all about. Some of the things that I've noticed over the last couple of years. I didn't start drinking until I was 12 years old. I waited as long as I possibly could. I had been restless, irritable, and discontented for quite some time. I got shipped off to boarding school. I come from a very violent home. The way that I say it now is it kind of involves my healing, in addressing my eyesight issues, my PTSD, and all that. I mean, I've been looking over my shoulder since I was 4 years old. I'm used to having to fight to have a say in anything. If I didn't want the haircut that my father wanted, I had to be willing to take a beating to say so. Still had to get the haircut, but I got to say I didn't want it. So I always had a black eye every time I went and got a haircut. You know what I mean? My barber was like, "What do you do, kid?" Speak my mind. And then I got shipped off to boarding school when I was 12, and I was the youngest of 250 boys. They'd scoured the earth to find 250 of the brightest, most disturbed young guys they could find. It was like Lord of the Flies in this joint. You know what I mean? It was not a healthy environment. And just to give you an idea of what it was like, I was there in the first week. I was the youngest and smallest kid there, 12 years old, 105 pounds, scared of my own shadow. And I met Tiny. Every high school's got a guy named Tiny. Right? Actually, he found me in the quad. He walked up and he slapped me in the back of the head. How you doing, punk? Slapped me in the back of the head and sent me and my books flying, right, in front of everyone. Now, he thought that he just, initiated the new kid, you know what I mean? He just slapped a little kid, no big deal. He didn't realize he had just slapped somebody that was willing to die over this, right? So I got up and walked over to Tiny, and I hit him as hard as I possibly could, and then just stood there in front of me, this mountain of a human being. And if I could have voiced what I was thinking, it would have been, dude, you're going to have to take it from here because I'm so far past anything I know anything about right now. I don't know what comes next. And he did. And he said, "You got a lot of guts, kid." Then he beat the crap out of me, right? And as I was taking the beating, which I knew how to do, I thought to myself, this is going pretty good. Because this guy had said, "You got a lot of guts." My violence had masked my fear, right? So my first tool for living was, when frightened, attack. If you're attacking people, they're not thinking what a frightened little child you are, right? So I went back to my room waiting for the bleeding to stop, and word went across this campus like wildfire. Watch out for this little Hightower kid, he's a maniac, he attacked Tiny, right? So now I got this reputation as this maniac, and I'm just a frightened child, that's what I am. And the cool guys came around, and Matt stuck his head in the dorm, and he said to me, "Hey man, you want to smoke a joint?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I didn't even know what that meant. All I heard was, "Do you want to hook up?" I felt alone in the universe, right? And this guy goes, "You want to go joint?" Sure, he could have said, "Look, we're going to go kill the Spanish teacher. Do you want to come?" "I'm in. Let's go." They got me in Latin. I'll go. Right? I needed to hook up, so we went and got Steve, and Steve had a Tupperware container full of cheap red wine, no grapes involved red wine, Fortifies, you know what I mean? Like a container of Mad Dog, you know what I mean? So we took the Mad Dog and the joint behind the dorm, and he fired at the joint, and I took the joint from him, and took a hit, it burned my lungs, and I thought, that sucks. And then I took the wine, I took a pull on that wine, and it went down, and you know how that stuff is, you know what I mean? It just hits the bottom of your stomach and just kind of wafts back up, you know what I mean? You're like, oh. I thought, that's horrible. let's try that joint again. You know? And it was just floating back and forth, and all of a sudden, just like that, it happened. That thing that makes me bodily and mentally different from my fellows occurred. And suddenly I was comfortable standing where I was standing, doing what I was doing with the people I was doing it with. Never felt like that before in my life. And I don't know, is it the pot, is it the wine? Is it the fact that I'm standing here with my two very close personal friends, Matt and Steve? Because these are my boys now, I've known them 15 minutes. You know, we get high together, right? And I don't care. Nobody died that night, nobody, and I gotta remember as an alcoholic, as a drug addict, I gotta remember that in the beginning it worked perfectly. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. It was the fear killer, man. It took the fear off of me. It made it possible for me to fully exhale for the first time in my life. And nobody died, nobody went to prison, nobody went to the nut house, no blood was drawn. I mean, all those things were gonna happen, but they didn't happen that night. That night, nothing bad happened. You feel better than you ever felt before. I woke up the next morning, man, I was in. I gotta find Matt and Steve. I didn't care about anything else. And that's how my life went for the next 16 years, every single day. Given many good reasons to stop along the way, I never even touched the brakes. Just go. And it progressed, you know, like it does. I mean, I was just an accident. There's alcoholism rampant on both sides of my family tree. My mother's side and my father's. I mean, I was just, if there's a line we cross, it's my lips. You know what I mean? It's like the minute I consumed substances, it was on, right? And I never slowed down. I never slowed down. 13 was pills. The only reason I took pills, the guy said to me, would you like a couple of pills? And I said, yes, I would. Took the pills and said, what were those? You know, that's how we do it. Most people would inquire prior to consuming the pills, which way are we going here? You know, I just want to know now, should I get ready, should I lay down or should I get ready to paint the house? Where are we going here? Which way does this go? Because I'm cool either way, right? You know, as a specialist, I mean, I like down and out. I like alcohol, heroin, barbiturates. These are a few of my favorite things. You know what I mean? My idea of a good night, sitting around checking my pulse. That's a perfect evening for me. Just right in here. You know what I mean? I don't need a woman. I don't need a window. I don't need a TV. I just sit around and I need a watch. Just, all right, good. All right, there's another one. Good. Just keep it beating just enough. Just keep hard and long. That's where I like it in there, right? But if you don't have any heroin, I'll take a big bag of cocaine. Sure. Can't go down? Let's go up. Very happy driving the freeways, decoding license plates. Let's go. You know? Let's get on that right away. Because the truth is, I mean, we all like to talk about how we're specialists. You know what I mean? I'm a crack addict. I like meth. Or, I'm a heroin addict. I'm junkie. I mean, it's just, the fact of the matter is that I got to get out of right here, right now. And if that's up or down, I like to go down, but if I can't go down, let's go up. Because I got to get out of right here, right now. Because right here, right now, I'm frightened. I'm self-centered, I'm afraid. Right here, right now, I'm comparing my insides to your outsides. And I'm losing every time, right? So I gotta have anti-oral medication on board at all times. So I just went to pot, I went to pills. I got strung out on all the barbiturates. Then it was psychedelic. So when I took a psychedelic was, Debbie. Debbie was a bad girl. She was a really bad girl. And I will love her till the day I die. Debbie said, would you like to drop some acid? And I said, yes, I would, Debbie. Anything you want, yes. You don't even have to ask, right? And she took out a lipstick tube and spun it up on the end of a little pill, and I just took it off and put it in my mouth and swallowed it. She said, did you take that whole thing? I said, yes, I did. It was a very tiny pill. She said, well, that was 3 hits of white lightning. Somebody over there just went, yes, one who knows. The next 2 days were very interesting. About 650 hits later, I got classified legally insane by the military, but we don't have time for that. 15, I started shooting dope. The only reason I shot dope was I was on a boat in Marina Del Rey with a girl named Cammie. Lovely girl. Cammie said, would you like me to stick this in your body? And I said, I'm certain of it, Cammie. and she did, and it was one of those shots where she shot, and I was like, and on the way down, all I was thinking was, if I'm not dead, I'm doing that again. That was awesome, right? And that was just the nature. I mean, I tell it to you this way because I don't want you to think I had some master plan. I don't want you to think that I knew what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing the best I could to get through the day without seizing up, you know? I don't have the answer. I see people in the world and how they function, how they chit-chat, how they talk about it. I don't know how to chit-chat. I don't want to chit-chat. I don't like the chit-chat. I don't, you know what I mean? Do you have any drugs, alcohol, sex, information on how I can get any or all of the above? Let's chat. You don't? Next. I'm very busy. I'm a very busy individual. I'm very focused. I got 3 hours before things start to get ugly. So, you know, you got to stay focused. And that's how it was for me. And by the time I ended up dropping out of high school, a boarding school, my father threw me in a mental institution for 3 months of observation, a year of rehabilitation. I talked my way out of there. Just went back to doing what I do, you know. They threw another net over me, and I escaped from. I am currently a fugitive. I am an escaped mental patient. Right? They never told me. Right? And I hit the street and do what we do to stay loaded on a daily basis, right? From there on, I ended up in business college. Well, that's another long story, right? But I'm a drug dealer in Northern California, and I have no problem being a drug dealer because, I mean, I got no morals or ethics. I got no sense of family. I have no sense of community. I'm just loose. And I'm studying marketing, production, distribution, and applying it to my drug business. Business is booming. I think college is awesome, right? And they have a health fair, and I go to the health fair, and it turns out I have malignant cancer, right? So that was like the first wake-up call. 20 years old, you have malignant cancer. You need. So I come back to LA. They tell me to get my affairs in order. They do major surgery on my upper back, put me in nuclear medicine. They call it then chemotherapy now. And I didn't like their drugs because, you know, you just don't get properly high on chemo. You know? And so I just went home and got loaded the way I get loaded on the long-term cancer survivor, right? Ended up back in college. My mother calls me and says, we haven't been anywhere with the family in 10 years, and you and your father got to work this out. And I was like, and she was crying. I was like, right, you know, it's futile, but you want to go through the exercise, it's fine with me. She goes, come on, we're going to go to Guadalajara as a family, and for your birthday, everything's going to be cool. So I was like, yeah, sure. So I fly back to LA on my 22nd birthday, got hair down to my elbows. I've been up for like 3 days. It's like, hi, Mom. And she's just like, great, get in the car, right? So I get in the car, we get in my father's plane, we take off to fly to Guadalajara, and on the way there, the plane crashed. And my mother, my father, my little sister all died in the crash. And I came to in the wreckage and pretty much broke every bone in my body. Fractured my skull, broke my back in 2 places, all my ribs, legs, arms. Only thing I could move was my right arm, and I was awake, paralyzed from the waist down. And my mother was laying right over there. My little sister Kimberly was right over there, and my father was laying right over there. And I couldn't do anything to help him, so I laid there and I watched them all bleed to death in front of me. And it was like I flipped the switch inside. I just very quietly thought, I'll never love another human being again as long as I live, and there's no way you're ever going to know who I am, there's no way you're going to love me. I'm out. And then some guys came up and they scavenged the plane wreck, they took what they could find of value and they left me there to die. So I had no more love for you either. I had no love of God, I had no love of my fellow man, I was just out of the game. And some guys finally came up and they took me out of the wreckage and they took me down to, I ended up in a hospital called Hospital Fatima, Los Mochis, Mexico. And the federales they got my name, the federales showed up and they interrogated me for 3.5 days. Wanted to know what I was doing back in Mexico. I had a little issue with the Mexican government. We don't need to get into that here, but let's just say they were not thrilled to see me in their country. So they tortured me for 3.5 days. Wanted to know what I was doing. And I just kept saying pilot error, and I got a hold of a guy I knew who was like deep in the Sandinista thing in Nicaragua, and he flew in a plane and they smuggled me out. They paid off a bunch of guys and plastered me from the neck down and smuggled me out of Mexico. And I spent a long time in a hospital at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica, California, just working my hustle, you know, because I didn't know how to be any other way. That's just the way my brain worked. I had a good hustle, man. I've had malignant cancer. You had malignant cancer? Don't tell me how to use. Get it out of my face. I got a dead family. You got a dead family? You want your family done? No? Then step off. Right? And people were like, you know, nobody would get in front of me and say, cut him off. He's had too much. I had the story, man. I could just back anybody off of me. And that's the way I like it. Just stay away. Stay away, or we're going to talk about stuff you don't want to talk about. Or we're going to get into it. We're going to draw blood. That's just the way I live now. I've got 6 years of that, of stories and mayhem and stuff you go, well, that's not possible. Yeah, it is. I got 6 years of that ends with me coming out of a blackout in Venice, California on November 6th, 1980. And I had hundreds of blackouts. You know, I was used to just coming to, where are we now? What city are we in? Who are you? You know, where's the airport? You know, because I'm usually got to take a flight home. Because when I go into blackouts, I really roll, right? And I had hair down my elbows. I was 215 pounds. I was yellow. Sac around my heart was swollen. My thyroid was shut down. Couldn't touch the kidneys or the liver. I was yellow. The police were outside deciding whether or not to charge me with the attempted murder of David Luboff. Family was dead, had no friends, had no place to live. I'd burned my life to the ground. There was no area of life I could look at and say, well, it's going pretty good there. You know, there was no place I could. There was no place for the denial to land. You know what I mean? It just flittered away, and the truth was there. It was over, and I don't know what happened in that blackout. I'm one of the lightning bolt to the window guys. You know what I mean? I'm not. I came to, and it was over. It was done. And both my hands were broken, and I just raised them up. I had over 650 stitches in me. I'd broken 74 bones at that point. I mean, and I just said, help. And somebody was in that room that understood what had just happened. That, you know, I'm not suicidal, but I had gotten to the point where death was an acceptable consequence of how I used. If it kills me, you know. But I'm not easing back on the throttle just because it might kill me, right? And all of a sudden, all that was gone. And I said, help. And I ended up getting my stomach pumped. Then they took me to another place, kept me for 3 to 5 days. I don't really know. I got worse. And they took me to a place called Long Beach General Hospital. It's not here anymore. But it was 42 guys on army cots, 21 cots on each side of the room. And how you kicked was called riding the cot, right? There were no meds. There was no guy coming around at night saying, you know, Earl, are you a little anxious this evening? Are you having trouble can I get you something for the, you seem uncomfortable. You know, it was called riding the cot. You know, you rode the cot. I bucked up out of there after 2 seizures. I've seen a guy snap his fingers, convulsing in those cots on his way up out of the cot. I mean, we were bucking and flipping out, and you know what I mean? Somebody was 42, never slept. I spent 52 days in detox, and I was still sick. And they stood me and said, you gotta go. They go to AA or die. It's the only hope there is for a guy like you. And I thought that was really rude. You know, like no plan B, huh? It's that simple for me. AA or dead. He goes, yep, Ray W. is the guy's name. So I went, all right, I'll go to your AA. And I went. I sat in the back of the room, mad dogging everybody, you know, thinking like an addict. Because how else am I supposed to be thinking? You know, they, for the most part, dealt with the physical phenomenon of craving. But the obsession of the mind is in full effect. I'm still thinking like an addict. I'm still trying to kill the pain. I don't know how to be in the world. I'm still angry. I got pictures in my head I can't live with, and I don't have the tools for it. Because I got generalized anxiety disorder. I got severe PTSD. I got hellacious late-stage chronic alcoholism and drug addiction, and the list goes on. I got survivor's guilt. I mean, it's just, you know, I'm just a dude sitting in the back with his eyes darting around in his head going, don't come up and do the chit-chat. Just don't. Because I got no place else to go. They said it's this or the grave, so don't make this any harder on me than it needs to be. So just stay away from me. And the old-timers were like, great. The old-timers saw me come in and they were like, hey, how you doing there, partner? Hey, get yourself a cup of coffee and there's a seat for you right over there, and good luck with all that you got going on right there. And they didn't get within 30 feet of me. I was like, you know, growling at people, you know, not a great command of the English language at that point, you know. How are you? Would you like some coffee? You know, a variety of grunts. They'd say, I think that's a yes. Get a coffee. Get around this. And that was just the beginning, right? And except the newcomers were the ones that drove me insane. Because, you know, they couldn't differentiate. All they saw was a new guy, you know what I mean? And they're coming over trying to get you a big book and meeting directory, and I'm like, go away. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm here because I have no place else to go, no place else to be. It's here or dead. So I'm just trying to figure out what's your angle, what's your hustle, so that I can learn it, right? I saw 12 steps and 12 traditions up on the wall. I read the 12 steps and I went, okay, got it. What else you got? Traditions? I'm not a group. I don't need those, right? I mean, and that was it. I mean, I didn't get it. And then this guy got up and he shared his experience, strength, and hope. I didn't know that's what he was doing. It's just this guy drank. And I was like sitting there quietly, defiantly, you know, sitting there thinking, yeah, I drank like that. I get that guy, yeah. And then he talked about what happened. I go, yeah, kind of what happened to me. It was rather sudden. You know, it was just over. And then he talked about how his life had changed as a result of getting sober. And I was like, nope, I got none of that. You lost me, right? And then some guy said, keep coming back. You know, you should. And I thought, all right, I'm going to come back. And this is how much I knew about the A&A. I thought, you know what, that guy was pretty cool. I'm going to come back next week and hear that guy talk some more. Because I thought that's the meeting where that guy talked. You know, if you wanted to hear that guy, you would go to that meeting on Friday nights, and that guy would be there talking, right? So I went back to the meeting, and they did the blah, blah, blah. They rarely saw stuff. And then the ABC, and there's 24 things. And our speaker tonight's Betty. And I was like, time out. Who the hell is Betty, and what'd you do with Bob? And the guy next to me goes, oh, you must be new. I'm like, shut up. And he's like, well, we have this kind of meeting, and this kind of meeting, and meetings, and blah, 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 blah. And I just say, stop. While I'm trying to get this guy to leave me alone, Betty's like 75, and Betty's like, working her way to that podium, man. They got the helmet hair going, you know what I mean? Got the little summer dress on. Betty's like 75 years old. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get this hour of my life back, right? Betty gets up and starts talking. Hi, I'm Betty. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Betty. Oh, is everybody clear that I don't want to be here and I hate Betty already? That was like what I was trying to make clear in that particular meeting. Yeah, we get it, Earl. You can't stand this. A woman talking. And you know what it was? It wasn't a better or worse thing. It said if you're a woman, you don't understand me. Not better or worse, just different. You're a woman, I'm a man. We come up through different stuff. So if you're a woman, you don't understand me. You're gay, you don't understand me. 5 years older, 5 years younger, you don't understand me. I got the wagon circle so tight. If you're not Earl, you don't understand me. I'm looking for the difference. I'll find you quick. So I can just discount everything you've got to say. Because I'm looking for the differences, not the similarities. Right? And now I got to listen to Betty. This ancient Betty. Right? And Betty gets up and starts talking. And 5 minutes in, Betty goes, back in my day, if you were a reasonably attractive woman, you could walk into a bar and drink for 2 weeks on 50 cents. And then broke down how you do that. Right? And when she was done talking, I looked at the dude next to me who'd been hassling me earlier, and I looked at him and I went, Betty's a badass. I would so roll with Betty, right? And then I kind of freaked out a little bit. I'm identifying with a 75-year-old woman. What the hell's going on here, right? But I was the lucky one. I had no place else to go. What are you going to do today? You're going to go to the A&A. Why? Because where else am I going to go? No one else will have me. Nobody, everybody else is like, no, go away. We know you. Get out. Right? I got 86 from Barn Venice. It's impossible to get 86 from. You can shoot somebody in Hananos and not get 86. I got 86 from Hananos. I can engage in very, very bad behavior. I've actually been arrested for mayhem. That's hard to do. Anyway. One of the high points of my life. I was quite proud, actually, that day. Mayhem, you said. All right. Good. Right? That's a new one. All right. So what the hell was I talking about? So I stayed, and I've been sober for 38 years because I never left the A&A. I never left. I found out what was going on, right? And this is where I kind of shift gears for this kind of a crew. Because we work in treatment. I worked in treatment for 35 years. right? Since 1983, so coming up on 36 years. Jesus. Anyway, we talk about being a 12-step program, right? We're 12-step based. So what the hell does that mean? What does that mean that we're 12-step based? What's the difference between going to AA and going to treatment? What's the difference between treatment and recovery, right? Well, the difference for me, this is me talking now, all right? The difference between treatment and recovery is treatment is for people who have a resistance to recovery. If somebody's like, you know, hey, my life's a wreck, I gotta get sober, somebody help me get sober, I want to get sober, somebody help me get sober. You detox them and you start taking them to meetings. They're willing. All right, who goes to treatment? The guy who's not willing to do that, right? He's got that, you know, treatment is to address an individual's resistance to ongoing recovery. Because this ain't about stopping. It's about how do you stay stopped. And how do you develop the tools that make that possible. And so treatment, you know, you sit in groups and they say, so how you feeling? They don't do that in AA. That's how important what I just said was. Blew the sign back. How you feeling? And you tell them how you're feeling, and what they end up doing is they develop a treatment plan that's based on what they perceive to be your obstacles to ongoing recovery. That's a good treatment plan. And how they can use clinical tools to break that down so they can send you off to the A&A with some willingness to be there. So you can get across the bridge from treatment into recovery. You get into recovery, it's a program of action. It's not about how you feel, it's about what you're willing to do. Basically, if there was like a gateway to AA, you'd walk through and they'd say, welcome to AA. If you'd like to tell us how you feel, terrific, go ahead. We don't really care, but go ahead. We're going to ask you to engage in some activity. It's called contrary action. Because you're looking for a different result in your life. And if you want a contrary result, you're going to have to take some contrary actions to get it. And we're going to suggest to you some of those contrary actions. And what I discovered was they would say to me, look, we think you should do this, 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 and this, and I'll get to that in a second. But they would suggest things to me and I'd go, oh, you know what? Honestly, I would have never thought of that myself. that would have never come to mind for me. My self-centered, alcoholic, addicted brain is so selfish, so fear-based, so self-centered, right? That I can't think, it never comes to my mind, maybe I should help you out. Or maybe I should, when this is over, I should help put the chairs away. Or maybe I should, you know, agree to, they made me a greeter for one day, one meeting. You know, but it was like, yeah, well, okay. Come on, you're blocking the door, get in the room, come on. And people were going up to the secretary going, I gotta tell you, I'm not feeling welcome here. So they just plucked me right out of the line and said, no, make you the cleanup guy. You just hang back till all the people leave and then you can like sweep up the floor and stuff. And I was like, fine. That wouldn't have occurred to me either, but okay. And it took me 6 months of doing things in support of others before I realized that it made me feel better. To get out of self. Out of self. Out of self. That there were these, that was constantly what they were asking me to do. And to suggest that we're 12-step is basically that there's this understanding of where we want people to go, where we're the direction that we're heading people in. That there's this triangle with a circle. It's an ancient spiritual symbol. It stands for mind, body, and spirit brought together as a whole human being. And therein lies the balance that I've sought my whole life and I've never had drunk or sober. Alcoholics Anonymous adopted that symbol. I talk about them because they're the original. They're the big dog. And unity, service, and recovery, it's the same thing. Unity is the body, I bring it here. I couldn't stay sober on my own. I couldn't do it. I could not stay stopped for a day. But if I started staying with you, and I started staying sober, I couldn't, but what's the first word in the steps? We admitted together that I needed to be a part of something bigger than me. So that unity was the body, I brought it here. Recovery was of the mind, the greater aspect of my illness, right? The obsession of the mind, this thing that made it impossible for me to get comfortable sober. And that's the only way I'm going to stay stopped is if I get comfortable sober. And the only way I'll be comfortable sober is if I get relieved of the obsession of the mind. And the only thing that has ever relieved me of that is the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous as outlined in the Big Book. That's what works. It's a metaphysical process that is designed to address the obsession of my mind, to relieve me of that, so that I can once and for all finally walk the earth a free man, no longer enslaved by alcohol and drugs. Something that I had never known as an adult. I've been loaded since I was 12 years old. And A&A was telling me, you can be comfortable sober. And I thought it was a lie. I've been comfortable and I've been sober, but never both at the same time. And they were saying, no, that's what we're about. We're about putting them together. Unity as a body, bring it here. You need to see the possibility in front of you. You need to see what's possible. Sitting right over there. Tom's sitting right there. He's what's possible for me. A couple months, he'll be 55 years sober. Right? Quietly sitting among us. Right? Thinking, you know, if Earl sticks around, he might get this thing. And I love that. I absolutely love that. Right? He's the light up ahead for me. Right? And that means something to somebody that's been completely and utterly isolated in life. Cut off from any kind of real meaningful human connection, any kind of intimacy whatsoever. Right? So unity is the body, I bring it here. Recovery of the mind, I work the 12 steps to be relieved of the obsession. Right? Having had a spiritual awakening is the result of working the steps. Step 12. The third side of the triangle. I can complete the triangle. I can be of service. How can I help? I can get out of self because I've got something to give. When a guy walks in with his head on fire, some little tweaker comes running in out of his mind and says, do you know how to stay clean? I can say, yeah. And it's got nothing to do with my best thinking, bro, which is very good news for both of us. There's this plan over here, you know what I mean? It seems to work. And there's, and people talk about percent, 17% or 11% or 9%. Bullshit. Here's the truth. Rarely have we seen a person fail who's thoroughly followed our path. If I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict, my goal is to find out what thoroughly means. Right? And I need to be in a facility that supports that. I need to be in a place where I can walk up to my counselor or my caseworker or whatever title you want to give them and tap them on the shoulder and say, dude, they gave me this big book at the meeting I was at that you took me to last night, and I've been reading the doctor's opinion, and I got a couple of questions. That person needs to be able to go, fire away. What's your question? What do you need? We're here to help you. Glad that you're asking the questions. Let's mix it up. Don't just swallow it whole. Fight us. Engage us. Grapple with this stuff. Right? I'm so glad I was so against this when I came in, yet had nowhere else to go. That I came in thinking, Jesus, this is awful. To be in the A&A, look at these people. Right? All shining like they got jobs and everything. You know what I mean? I had no concept of what was going on in the world, what these people were doing when they left. Families, sure. And they did. And there's one thing about addicts and alcoholics that I've always known, and it's this. When you tell us the truth, we hear it. We may not like what you're saying. We may not want what you're talking about, but we know you just told us the truth. Because we're hustlers, we're liars, we're thieves. We're always working an angle. And it's taken me a long time to even become aware of when I'm doing it. I still do it. I still have. Anybody in here? I know you're all sober saints. I know it's true. I've heard about this county of yours. You know what I mean? Got some fierce recovery going on down here. But who among you still lies? The rest of you with your hands down, you're lying right now. Everybody lies. You lie. And you lie about absolutely nothing, right? That's the thing that blows my mind is that I'll be talking to a friend, and the friend say, well, so what'd you do today? And I say, I went to the movies. I didn't go to the movies. And why the hell did I tell this guy I just went to the movies? I did not improve my standing with this individual. There was no value in it. There was no value in telling this guy that I went to the movies. Why did I say that? There's no legitimate reason for the lie. The only thing I've ever been able to come up with, and if you guys have got an idea, I would love to hear it. The only thing I've ever been able to come up with is, deep within me sleeps the beast. Right? And I keep them snoring peacefully by going to regular meetings regularly. I have a sponsor I'm in contact with on a regular basis, right? I work the 12 steps as outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I get out of myself and I'm of service to other individuals on a daily basis. I do those 4 things so that my beast sleeps peacefully, right? But I know he's in there. So every once in a while I think, you know, the day may come where I'm going to have to look somebody in the eye and tell them what. Right? So every once in a while, I just throw one out there to see, see if I can do it. You know what I mean? Just got to keep that lie muscle well oiled. You know what I mean? Yeah, with the movies. You bought it. I can still do it. Okay, good. You know? Wouldn't want to get rusty with the line, right? It's just the truth, right? I didn't come here to achieve perfection. You know? I came here not to die drunk and loaded. That's why I came here. Right? And I stayed because I kept getting better. The peace that I know kept getting greater and greater and greater. When I was 5 years sober, I went to a conference very near here that I'm probably going to be speaking at this year, the South Bay Roundup. Right? It was a big one. First one I ever went to. At 5 years sober, I walked in and the guy said, all right, here's your registration. The big meeting's on. Just going to be quiet. I know how to do that now. I can walk in and actually not be completely disruptive. So I went in, I got in the back of the room, I looked up, and it just pinned me to the wall. There are 2,500 addicts and alcoholics sitting in a room listening to one old dude talk. And I'd never seen 10% of that number of people in a room before. It was just insane how many people that was to me. And you could hear a pin drop, this guy talking. I thought, who the hell is that guy? 2,500 people to pick from, and they picked that old duffer. But who is that? Turns out his name was Franklin W. from Olive Branch, Mississippi. He was one of the first circuit speakers that was going around the country, speaking at conferences and stuff, trying to keep some continuity in what we were doing. Because we can get out in the weeds like that, right? And so, you know, Franklin was just kind of keeping an eye on it. Just a great old guy. And he changed my life. He said, I'll sum up Alcoholics Anonymous for you in 6 words. And I said, I was in the back going, right. Okay. Go ahead, old timer. Hit me. And he said, trust God, clean house, and help others. And I just started crying. I had a spiritual experience. Everything I'd heard for 5 years all just went click. Trust God, clean house, help others. When you work the 12 steps, step 1 is what's the problem? Lack of power. That's the dilemma. What's the solution? Step 2, power greater than myself. That could restore me to sanity, soundness of mind, relieve me the obsession to drink. Step 3 says you got to make a decision to do something about this. Or it doesn't mean anything. It has no bearing in your life, no meaning in your life. So you say the 3rd step prayer and you get back up and you embark upon a plan of rigorous action. 4 and 5 is me, 6 and 7 is God, 8 and 9 is you. Nobody else to play with, folks. That's the whole team. 10 me, 11 God, 12 you. That's it. That's the reboot. That's the great gift of Alcoholics Anonymous. That a totally broken, lying, cheating, thieving, dope fiend alcoholic like me, who can't love or be loved, can't talk to another human being without becoming, you know, inappropriate, right, is actually living a life, right? That I get to completely reconfigure how my relationship with self, my relationship with God, my relationship with other human beings. I get to redo my whole life. I get a whole do-over. And those 6 words incorporate all the work that I've been doing in AA for the last 5 years, right? Trust God with that relationship. It doesn't have to have faith in God. If you do, cool, bring it. No conflict. But trust God just means I make a conscious decision to acknowledge that there is consciousness greater than my own that's out there afoot and that I want to be open to that. Clean house. Me. Check my side of the street. Stop worrying about what you're doing and start worrying about what I'm doing. What am I bringing to the game? Not, oh, you're not doing that right. That's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. Can you believe what so-and-so did? I mean, Christ, I've had people that got so little to talk about in their own lives, they've had me drunk 5 times in the last 38 years. You heard earlier, went to Arizona, he's drunk. It's horrible. A guy told me that yesterday. A guy had just said that to me. I moved to Arizona. Clearly, the only reason anybody would move to a mystical, beautiful place like the desert at 3,500 feet, you know what I mean? It's so spiritual, it's like crazy. Well, you'd move there is, you know, you shoot don't till you die, right? I mean, that's how you crazy. Anyway, just get that myself off my chest. But that, you know, game. Stop worrying about all that and bring what I can bring. Contribute what I can contribute. Be open to the suggestion of other human beings. Be a part of something bigger than myself. And help others. Trust God. Clean house. Help others. My relationship with others is, how can I help you? What can I do for you? Not because I'm a good guy, but because I don't want to die drunk. I don't want to die with a needle in my arm. Right? And what it does is it allows me to live the life of a much better person than I actually am. You hear me? I lead the life of a much better person than I actually am. If you take me away from you, it gets ugly fast. Because because the only person I'm listening to is me. If you ever hear me say, hey, I got a great idea. Ever. Quickly gather around, because it's going to be entertaining. Right? Somebody will intervene and step in and go, what was the second thought, bro? Because the first one, we're not going to go with that. What was the second thought? Wait. And that's what my sponsors always told me. Pause when agitated and wait for the second thought. Because I am still Earl. I am still the guy that did all those things, that lived that way. That is my history. That is what I seem to be capable of. When you take me away from you and put just a little bit of substance in my body, I do a 180. It's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like so many others. Right? So when we talk about recovery, when we say that beginnings is a 12-step recovery process, that's what I'm saying. Is that that's what we're trying to impart to people, to give them the tool. It's triage. We know treatment's triage. 90 days, 30, 60, 90 days, it's triage. Stop the bleeding, stabilize the client, give them enough tools to bridge from treatment into recovery. Fight them the whole way. Fight them the whole way. Because their instinct, their experience says that's a sucker's bet. Based on nothing other than that beast whispering in their ear while they're sitting there talking to you. I've been in intake meetings where I've sat and some parents said, look, I know you see that that's your son there and you think that's your son talking to you. This conversation has absolutely nothing to do with your actual son. That's addiction you're listening to. The guy who's saying, well, what about outpatient? What about, you know, this time it will be different. That's not him. Give us a little time, we'll get to him. But we're trying to get to him just enough to stabilize him, just enough for him to be willing to say, you know what, I'm going to give this ANA thing a shot. I'm going to become a part of the community. I'm going to allow consciousness of beyond my own to be in my vicinity on a regular basis. Meanings. The recovery, the light up ahead, the recovery that has gone before. The irrefutable truth to every addict and alcoholic, that there are people that drink and use like me, and they're leading much better lives than me, and they're doing it for one reason. They're part of this thing, this recovery thing. And I know that there's people that believe in lots of other things, and I say good luck and God bless. But if my life is on the line and I got one roll of the dice, I got to roll my dice with the thing that's been the most successful thing to address alcoholism and drug addiction since man started crushing grapes. That's why I would say we're a 12-step program. It's because that's the direction that we're heading. That's our goal with the people that we deal with. That's our commitment, our responsibility to the community. And the reason that I decided, I've been in the game for 35 years. You know, in treatment, pretty much everybody knows me. You know, it's just, you know, stay sober and don't die, you get known, right, you know? And I like being involved with beginnings because I like the way these guys think. They genuinely care what happens to the people that come into the facility. They genuinely want people to get better. They genuinely want people to find what they know is available to them out there. So they try their very best to work towards that. And they invited me to join with them and help them, consult to them and help them fine-tune and just get better at that and better at that and better at that. The best people in the world at the game of treatment are the people that remain willing to learn. That's the best definition of humility I know. You're not an arrogant facility. They have humility. They have the willingness to learn. We're going to get better, we're going to get better, we're going to get better, we're going to get better. I'm down for that. And so, those of you in the community wondering what's up here, that's what's up. That's what we're doing, you know, and you want to come play with us? Come play with us. We're gang, right? We're in this to win this. We want to get better. We want to see the numbers go up, the numbers go up, the numbers go up. Who's staying sober? More. 6 weeks later. So what are your percentages? What are your outcomes suggesting now? More. That's the kind of reports I like. How are we doing? Better. I'll tell you. Let's keep going. Let's see if we can get better on the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And that's what we're doing. So if you're in the community, you want to be a part of this, come see me. Come see Pedge. Come see Cindy. They're clustered over there. There's that whole table. Just go see anybody at that table over there. All those guys. Go see all those guys, right? And hook up with us. We'll do our best. Not just to get you to come play with us, but to play with you. We understand reciprocity. We understand you support our business, we support your business. We play fair. We know what works long-term. Relationships. That's no hustle. That's just the way we roll now. All right? So if you're at all interested, come check us out. We got some good stuff going on. All right? I wish you peace. Thanks for being here. Hope you
Thank you.